Jon between the Targaryen and the Stark.
Right.
Which is total BS. You know? Because it's like, even you find out, oh, my dad's this guy, not this guy. It's like, okay, well, I was still raised by Ned and living with you guys. And so even though, fine, Rhaegar was my father. Who cares? You know, like, that's cool. Awesome. I'm still Jon Snow. He's not going to change his name now.
No, he's not going to ever be Aegon.
Come on.
But it's
hey, by the way, have you thought about how stupid it is that Rhaegar names his son by Elia Sand, Aegon, and then son by Lyanna Stark, Aegon?
Maybe he just wanted Aegons.
Why would you have two? Like, you get one. Why isn't the other one Aemon? You know what I mean? Or something. Yeah. It's like, what are you going to call him? Aegon the younger?
Because he's
Aegon the older?
The sixth of his name.
Come on, man. Weak sauce. But, yeah, so Arya and Jon, that was pretty good. Did we talk about Tyrion and Sansa?
No, we didn't.
Okay, Tyrion and Sansa meet up, too, on the wall. And, again, Sansa's role, it always shows promise, and then it just... Like, now she's turned into a bitch again, you know?
Yeah, she's super bitchy, but...
And it's like, I would think her and Tyrion would have had a good relationship. Because he was the only one... She always kept on saying, like, he was good to me. Right. He was good to me. But and then she sees him now, and he's like, I thought you were smart, but you're not, you know?
Right, because she's pissy. She's pissy that Jon bent the knee, that she's got Daenerys in her castle as the queen.
Right.
Like, she's just mad, right?
Right.
But I think there was points in that conversation where you could see that there was a connection again with them. You know, and I see that going forward. Like, I think our predictions from the preview episode of, like, you might have the Lady of Winterfell with either the Lord of Casterly Rock or the hand of the king or queen, like, that might end up happening.
Right.
You know, you have this...
I could see
you have this connection that intertwines every family within the Seven Kingdoms. Like, there's, you know, you end up with Jon and Dany together. And you have Targaryen and Stark. You have Stark and Lannister. You have all of this interwoven family connection now that there's no need to fight. And that's where you'll get your peace in the Seven Kingdoms.
Hopefully, yeah. I'm a
that's
little disappointed
to put
with Sansa.
That's a big bow on that. But, like, it's one of those things, like, if they are going to finish it with a couple of, 4 people living, like, those are the 4 that...
Yeah,
you know?
No, for sure. And like you said, the best way to create peace is through marriage, right? And if you have, Jon and Dany, right? And you have a Stark and a Lannister, and, I don't know, someone else you can throw in the mix there to tie the realm together a little bit better, I mean, good work, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, so it's one of those things, like, going forward that it'll be interesting to see, who lives and who dies.
Right. All right, so...
And a new romance. We got a new romance. We got to talk about the new romance.
Yeah. Well, it's coming up.
Okay. See, I don't look at the show notes. I just write them, and then I forget about them.
So you got Davos, Tyrion, and Varys chatting on the wall.
He was talking about the proposal, right? Like, that's their main thing. Is like,
well, I love that these guys are together because these are like the schemers. You know what I mean? Right. Like, these aren't the fighters. These are the hands.
It's like an episode of Survivor when you're watching these two. Like, who can backstab somebody else without their face being like, okay, this is what
pretty good. I mean, they're all. I mean, Varys is sly, but I mean,
no, I
can't see Davos doing anything.
Davos and Tyrion, I think, are the most, like, upfront.
Right.
Like, Jon is the moral, like, compass of the show, right?
Right.
Like, whatever Jon does, it's like he's got a halo on his head. Like, he is not...
Yeah, it's just not well thought through is his problem.
No, but that's usually how it works, right? Yeah. The most just person always gets crapped on.
Right.
Because he's just trying to be a good person.
Right. And so we have Davos, Tyrion, and Varys chatting about Jon and, they can see Jon and Dany, how they're, they're in love,
But Davos brings it up. He's like, look, if we try and get them, we see what the interaction is between them. There's obviously feelings there. If we can set up a marriage between, you have the King of the North. And if that's what he is to people of the North, make him king of the realm, and you have the whole North that will back your play.
Right. It's just makes sense. You're tying up the realm.
Exactly. And you look at the way that they are, the way that Dany feels about him, and you see it when you see them ride the dragons, which is coming up.
Right.
Like, you know, she loves him.
Right. And I was also going to say, we didn't mention it with that scene inside of that room, you know, where people are giving Jon all kinds of trash about, you know, bending the knee. Tyrion tries to dismantle the situation. But Tyrion here in the north is like out of his realm. He's got no pull whatsoever. No one wants to hear him. No one in Westeros really wants to hear anything from him, right? He's got a bad reputation. Even before he did anything, he was always the imp, right? And then he kills his father. You know, and he's a Lannister.
And he's a Lannister.
So he's not welcome anywhere.
Right, and for 3/4 of the show, he was the one that tried to kill Bran. According to people in the North. Right.
But, I mean, we all know that that's all the fun. But what Davos did say that was, you know, interesting, he was saying these Northerners are more stubborn than a mule or whatever, but you have to earn their respect. So once you earn your respect, you're like in, you know? Yeah. So he was basically saying, like, you know, he's a Southerner, but when you earn their respect, they're loyal, they're good people, right? So all of these guys, Dany included, Tyrion, you know, all these guys coming here, they're like tourists coming to a foreign place and then expecting people to know English, you know what I mean? It's like they have to earn their keep in the North for the Northerners to accept them or respect them. So I think that's what's going to happen coming up, and that's, I feel like after they make their victory, you know, and all these guys have a key part to it, then that marriage pact will seal the deal, and they'll, you know, have everything going on. So speaking of the marriage pact, after these guys are talking about him, it goes to Jon and Dany. They're chit-chatting, being a little, you know, which I'm like, well, they're a little too close here out in public. But they talk about the dragons, how they're not eating, and they go visit the dragons and, you know, give them a little petsy. And this is what I'm a little upset by too. Daenerys goes on the dragon, and she's like, "Oh, you should try going on him."
Yeah, if you die, it's nice knowing you.
Yeah, you know, makes light of it, but this is what pisses me off the most. It's like I've read all of these, you know, books about dragon, Game of Thrones stuff with dragon riders. Most people that try to ride a dragon die.
Right.
And Targaryens are the ones, you know, with their blood that were able to ride dragons. The only other ones were like Valerians, but they're so intertwined with the Targaryens. But why is it so easy for Jon to hop up on the dragon? Right. Like, where this scene should have been was when Jon finds out his parentage, he should have been, and Dany too, with her encouragement, obviously helpful with the Mother of Dragons, but that's when he should have been riding this dragon. Right. And it should have been a more epic scene. It just turned out to be like a clumsy, like, buckling bronco he jumped on top of, you know?
Yeah.
It should have been like epic, almost like the end of the episode kind of scene,
and
because mounting the dragon's fucking huge.
And the way that it ends with an obvious, like, affection and love between Dany and Jon.
Right.
Like, as soon as they get off, it's this embrace of, like, you're mine and I'm yours type of situation. Because, like you said, there's only one family that's going to ride dragons. And the way that Dany looks at it, even if she doesn't realize that he's Targaryen,
right,
the way that she's going to look at it, and the way that she did, but just not in the best of ways, this dude can ride a dragon.
Right.
And he's, like, pure of heart and blah, blah, blah. And I love him, and I'm going to let you know.
Right. Well, yeah.
And she's with child.
It basically tells you everything, because she let him take one of her dragons. Right. She's never done that to anyone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's huge.
I thought when they hit the, like, waterfalls,
yeah,
I thought that was where it was, you know, how we had talked about in the preview, where it's like, you know, the sun is going to set in the set
east
in the
and west,
and rise in the west and stuff. And so it was, I thought they were going to get down right then, and that's where, you know, little snow happened.
But just getting it on in the cave again. You know?
Hey, you know, he's got to take it back to the wildling side of himself, you know.
So they have a little makeout session. The dragons don't like it though. You know, they're a little protective of their mother.
They're eyeballing.
All right, so next you got Gendry working away with dragonglass. So he's making all these arrowheads. By the way, they have it as like a metal. He's melting it down instead of like chipping it away or whatever. So that was interesting, but whatever. It looks like they're making a ton of arrowheads, which, by the way, I think is the best thing to do because you shower those arrowheads.
That's true.
On them, and you can
get
set.
them from distance.
Yeah, you need distance here. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't hand to hand.
No.
Fight these right away. You know
exactly.
But see, okay, talking about battle plans, what are you going to do? Are you going to send out your Dothraki?
I have no idea what they're going to do, man.
You know?
That episode 3 is going to be legit.
Episode 3 is where it's going down. So you have Gendry making all this stuff. You got the Hound making an appearance, and he wants this big axe. Big axe, yeah. And, he's bantering a bit with Gendry, giving him some trouble for his work. You know, so, well, it's not easy to work with this, you know. Yeah, it's a stone. And then he sees Arya. And, I love the Hound because he runs into two people that almost killed him / left him to die.
Right.
Brienne and Arya. And he's like, you left me to die. Don't forget I robbed you first. Yeah. I'm like, oh, she's not even backing down. Like, sorry.
Arya's not going to ever back down.
And he's like, that's why you're still alive.
I'm just wondering if the Hound is still on the list, you know?
He's not on the list.
You don't think he's on the list anymore?
He's not on the list. Remember they talk about it in the House of Black and White? He's like, why isn't he on the list? And she's confused. They talk about it. But, I just love, like, the Hound's just foul-mouthed. Got to clean it up. But he just doesn't give a crap. But the best part is he's holding no grudges. He's just like, yeah, you like the Brienne? He's like, you beat me. Yeah, you know? And she kind of, like, smirks. And to Arya, he's like, that's why you're still alive. And she kind of smirks. Yeah. He's just doing his own thing. He's
just like, you're a cold bitch.
Yeah. Mean. And then you have Arya with Gendry. And this is where the fireworks start happening, Pat.
Oh, yeah.
So
like, there's obvious, like,
some banter going on.
Hearts with, in the eyeballs, you know.
Yeah. He used to be a little old for her, but now...
Yeah, now she's of age.
She's of age, so, there's a chance there.
A Baratheon and a Stark.
That's true. Well, and, they're just...
they're both dying, but it doesn't,
What?
Oh, for sure.
No way.
Yes.
All right. I don't think so, but okay.
He's dying in her arms, and then she's dying soon after that.
Whatever.
What happens, man. I wrote the show.
But the cool thing is, Arya asked him to make some kind of a weapon.
Yeah.
You looked at the picture, right?
Sort of like either a pull-apart staff that has
two pieces,
double-headed arrows on it, or arrowhead-type spear.
Yeah, it's like a big spear.
You were thinking more of something that would shoot out. Yeah. Sort of like a bazooka or something,
Right. I was thinking that initially, but then I was like, if it's her weapon, you wouldn't want that. But I was thinking she's fought with a staff. If you would just have like a double-sided spear, that would be very useful. But the way it was shaped was like one side was very bulbous and the other side was kind of small, and it didn't look way too sharp. So I wonder...
I just think it's going to be one of those situations where she's fighting and she can pull it apart
when she needs
to, and she's going crazy.
That would be cool.
So House of Black and White style.
Damn right. Okay, so that'll be... Can't wait to see that weapon in action. Next, you got going further down Winterfell. You got Sansa and Jon.
Sansa and Jon, they meet up in like Sansa's room and they're talking or whatever, and it's basically what we expected. It's Sansa getting pissy that why did you bend the knee? I can't believe you bent the knee. You're the king of the North. What are you doing? Hopefully you bent it for the right reason and not because you're in love with her, because everybody sees that he's in love with her.
Right.
This would have been the good part, like you were saying earlier, where if you give the story of like, look,
right,
I was dead,
right,
and she came back with her dragons and lost a dragon,
right,
to save me and 5 other guys. Like, right. This is what happened.
Ask the Hound.
I
wish that Sansa and the Hound would have reunited a bit too. And I feel like
all these things are going to happen throughout these first like 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, and I feel like the Hound needs some. I was rewatching the show, the season 7, and I love when Tormund goes. He's like, the Hound's foul-mouthed and talking trash, and Tormund goes something like, "You have sad eyes," or something. Like Tormund's just like a big bear, you know what I mean? He says something to him like, "You got sad eyes," and he's like, it's so true of the Hound. Hound just needs a little love. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because of his disfigurement, everyone's been, and he's huge and mean and